Serial Experiments Lain is easily the most popular psychological mystery in anime history. It's often regarded as being too deep for you, but is it necessary for it to warrant such intimidation? Let's find out. The story of Lain is set in an ulterior cyberpunk version of the late 90s Japan, featuring a society with the technological mentality of those you would find a decade later in regards to the internet. Here we see that their version of the internet, the Wired, is a practical, multifunctional asset for everyday life that has yet to become integral within their society. Our protagonist, Lain, is a 14-year-old girl who is a bit of an introvert. She is the furthest thing from being tech-savvy, as she has no idea what emails are in the beginning of the show. We can see this as her friends are kind of leaving her behind as they are caught up with the times. And of course, because of peer encouragement as well as sheer curiosity, Lain decides to dust off that old Navi of hers and go on a wild journey through the internet. Here she discovers anime and porn, and she's never seen outside again. Oh wait, that's me. But seriously, as Lain becomes more accustomed to the Wired, she starts receiving emails from a classmate who killed herself in episode 1. It's pretty strange, and it just gets weirder from there. I can't tell you more about the plot than this, but what I can tell you is what you'll find when watching this anime. What I find most beautiful about Serial Experiments Lain is that it can be viewed through different angles. On its surface, we have the major story, which is a mystery that slowly becomes Lain's existential crisis as she comes to realize her place in the world. Even the setting itself is a big mystery, as it teeters in between reality and sci-fi horror. And if you look deeper than the main story within Lain, you're gonna find that it's not just a psychological mystery with elements of suspense. You're gonna find social commentary. It's very interesting because we see different people using the Wired in different ways. Some people just use it as a tool to increase communication in day-to-day life, and it doesn't really affect their life at all. Some people go overboard with it and just get addicted to it, and then there are other people that are more malicious and become hackers. What's so significant about the predictions of Lain is that this was finished in 1998, which doesn't sound like it's that big of a deal until you realize that Japan first got internet in 1996. So they had a year and some change to not only guess and predict the future of the internet, but predict its hold on society. Lain is literally a prophecy come true in regards to internet's effect on people's everyday lives. Granted, while the Wired is capable of doing things that our version of the internet has yet to achieve, its view on society and internet's effect on society was shockingly accurate. One discussion that always comes up whenever I talk about Lain to some of my friends that like it is that what if Lain were to be created in a different time? And I honestly feel that there was no other time for Lain to be created. It was made with the right mind in the right time. If it came out any later than this, then it would just be seen as a view of their current society instead of a prediction of the future. Now, whenever I hear about Lain, it's always this too deep for you stuff, but honestly, in regards to the major story, everything you need to know literally slaps you in the face in the final episode. The way that I feel you should watch Lain is that don't try and rack your brain trying to find all of these clues. Just relax and just watch it all. Just let it play. And then once you've finished it, take a day and think about it. Let it all sink in and then rewatch it. Maybe even rewatch it again after that. It's only 13 episodes long, so it's not really going to take you that much time. In fact, I learned a lot about this anime when I was preparing for this review, as I watched it 3 times in the past few weeks. The reason why I chose this vague review format was because I feel that Lain has become a very exclusive anime over the years, and I don't think it should be that way. I'm always reading in the comments section where anime fans will say, should I watch Lain? I don't know, I don't think I'll understand it. People feel intimidated by it, and it shouldn't be the case because it's really not that difficult. You should probably take that with a grain of salt though, because I have seen the anime 4 times, but 4 times for such a short series like this, it's not really that bad. Now, when I was preparing for this review, I went through YouTube and I watched nearly every Lain review. There were some very well-crafted, well-thought-out videos, but for the most part, they were analysis videos which actually spoiled everything, and there was one that I felt was really good. I'm going to be linking it at the end of this video for those of you who have already seen Lain. Now, there are also the other reviews, which some of them I really had a problem with, where they actually steer their viewers away from watching Lain. They say things such as, "It's too confusing, you won't understand this, if you like shonen anime, then it's not for you," and I feel that these things that they've been saying are detrimental to the entire fandom, because look at me. When I watched Lain for the first time, there was nothing that could prepare me for it. And yes, I understood the story the first time around. As I said earlier, it slaps you in the face with all the info in the last episode, but I think that definitely I didn't appreciate the story as much as I do right now after a few viewings, but if it wasn't for Lain being my gateway into psychological anime, which has become my favorite genre actually, I would have missed out on the majority of my top 10 anime list, and people out there that steer people away from Lain are depriving them of their anime experience. Potentially. I digress. Moving back to the review, I wanted to talk about its presentation. There have been many people, including myself at a certain time, which have given this series slack for its animation, and honestly, it's not the most detailed out there, but this was a budget series from the late 90s, so you can only expect but so much. However, after multiple viewings, I have to say that there is more than enough detail where it matters in the story. There are certain things like you'll see people in the distance, they have no features, they have like just glasses on and no face whatsoever, just because they didn't have the budget to go through and spend all the time on that, and that's fine. But the parts of the story which really matter the most have the most detail to them. Now, if Lain were to have the most beautiful and realistic animation, it would have a different appeal to it, because the way that it's drawn now, it really adds to the atmosphere. That's something that they really try and focus on with its presentation as a whole, and honestly, Lain was one of the creepiest anime that I've ever seen at certain points here. Like, you'll see people with these really creepy smiles on their faces and just other things that are going on there. I think that it would actually ruin it if it was more detailed and more realistic. As far as the animation goes, yes, it's actually pretty bad, but still they had a budget, so it's not really that big of a deal to me. It's something that I can overlook. This is basically an experimental anime. As the name states, serial experiments, a series of experiments basically. They did something different with the story, they did something different with the art, and it really came into its own after a while, and it created something unique despite the fact that it had a low budget. Now, as far as the audio goes, aside from the beautiful opening, which is one of my favorites, which is actually a bit different in itself, as it is a song sung in proper English here. It's something that you would expect to hear on the radio somewhere here. It's really great. As far as the background music goes, there's really not a whole lot there, because they focus mostly on sound effects, because these effects assist it with its animation in order to build its atmosphere. Now, as far as the voice acting goes, I alternated viewings, going from English to Japanese each watch through, and you could watch this either way. The English dub is actually pretty good, but I do have my gripes with it, such as the mispronunciation of words that they should have known, such as they pronounce psyche as piche, which, even giving them the benefit of the doubt that maybe the person who was doing the voice acting of saying that word has never heard that word before, there are multiple other people that are saying it, and then there's a team of people listening to it. Like, how did that slip by so many people? As for my final score of Serial Experiments Lain, I see no reason why I shouldn't give this a 10 out of 10. It's a story that can be viewed on many levels as an avant-garde anime. It's something that aged beautifully and still has every bit of impact today as it had in '98. Thanks for watching. Be sure to tune in for my next anime review of Kaiba. If you enjoyed this video, it would be great if you'd subscribe as well as hit that like button. Lastly, I'd like to give a big thanks to Matt Jarrell on Patreon for requesting this video. Thanks, Matt. If you'd like to support this channel further, please be sure to check out the Patreon. I'd also like to direct your attention to a link in the description section below of an analysis video of Serial Experiments Lain, only for those of you who have already seen the series, which is a great video by Brent Newhall of Otaku No Video. Thanks for watching, thanks for all your support, and I'll see you next time.